Between the Rows is brought to you by Smart Nutrition MAP plus MST. Experience the latest, most efficient fertilizer system for delivering sulfur and phosphate to your crops when they need it. Learn how to boost your soil's performance and maximize ROI with Smart Nutrition MAP plus MST at smartnutritionmst.com.
Hi, and welcome to Between the Rows. I'm your host this week, Laura Rance. This week's show is a special edition, bringing you some highlights from the recent Canada's Digital Farm Show. The COVID-19 pandemic forced the cancellation of Canada's Outdoor Farm Show that's been held at a site just outside of Woodstock, Ontario for the past 26 years. So just as we did with our Western show, Ag in Motion, Glacier FarmMedia transformed the show into a digital version. But that's not the only reason the show this year was special. On opening day, dignitaries were lined up along the lake on a deserted-looking site to make an announcement that's been a long time coming for Canada's Outdoor Farm Show. Ontario Agriculture Minister Ernie Hardeman delivered the news.
I'm pleased to announce that the Government of Ontario and Glacier FarmMedia are working together to ensure the long-term growth of Canada's Outdoor Farm Show through the proposed sale of a portion of the Woodstock Research Station. The proposed sale will support the success of Canada's Outdoor Farm Show by allowing Glacier Media and exhibitors to make long-term investments on this site. This will ensure that farmers have access to the latest and greatest advancements in agriculture that are showcased at the annual show and other events during the year. This is great news for agriculture and for the local economy. Farmers need innovative research and technology to help them be more competitive in the global marketplace, and that's exactly what the future Ontario Farm Show, Canada's Outdoor Farm Show, will do. And I know that Glacier FarmMedia is committed to agriculture research and has many exciting plans for the site.
Securing a permanent site for the show means long-term investments can be made into new programs and improved facilities that will extend its use far beyond the annual show week. Glacier FarmMedia President Bob Wilcox said that includes a new research initiative.
Discovery Farm Woodstock is going to showcase farmer-led and industry-partnered research with the goal of transferring in-field knowledge to farmers. And, this acquisition is wonderful. It is now possible to make all of these things happen that we've been talking about over the years. And the centerpiece of our plan is going to be the development of a Center of Sustainability and Soil Health on the site. The goal will be to bring the agricultural community together under one roof and to share and communicate and disseminate information on the importance of the sustainability issue and soil health. And we also look forward to working with Crosby Devitt and the grain farmers of Ontario to build a stronger rural-urban connection through a student demo farm that we have plans for on the site, and using the Centre of Sustainability and Soil Health for classroom and workshop space.
Also on hand was the president of Ontario Farmers, Keith Curry, who said the announcement secures an important link between farmers and innovation.
We are very pleased that we now can count on this opportunity going forward for our membership. So I want to congratulate all involved for this announcement. It certainly is a great day for the members that I represent, not only right across Ontario, but for farmers right across the country. It's a great investment, and we are very pleased to see it happen.
As someone who's used to traipsing through the hustle and bustle of a live show, I have to say it was a bit surreal watching this unfold on Zoom, especially seeing dignitaries wearing masks lined up in front of the lake with birds as their only audience. And I just had to ask Canada's Outdoor Farm Show President Doug Wagner about how it felt for him.
Well, I guess we were all kind of wondering how Tuesday would feel when the show came, and of course, even the last month during the whole show setup, how that would feel, and then of course Tuesday morning when we were able to share this big announcement with the wider community, it actually felt pretty good. That we were doing something, some big stuff has happened this year.
When we talk about such a significant change in terms of establishing a permanent site for the show, What does that mean for you as its president going forward?
Oh, I think it's monumental. We moved to the show site in 1996, I believe was the year we moved in there, from our first site at Burford, Ontario. So we'd kind of been working at this, you'd really like to own the property off and on, like for, 24 years. And then when Glacier Media purchased us, that opened up a whole different resource network that we were able to tap into. And anyways, then we got talking about the option to purchase, and wow, when they decided that, yeah, we can probably sell you that 100 acres because the province was disposing of some of their properties around the province. Then all of a sudden we were into it. And the biggest surprise for me was when I went to the Treasury Board or Board of Cabinet and they approved it, because I figured if there was going to be any place that would stop it, that would be huge. But there was obviously support around the table for an Ontario agricultural food that's growing food for the province. I guess I can only imagine, without putting words in people's mouths, that maybe thought it was not such a bad idea to have a world-class farm show in central Ontario. So it was a pretty emotional day for an old guy like me to see all this come together.
At the same time, it's kind of ironic that, the year that you finally get permanency in terms of a site to have a live show, that we're not able to have a live show because of the pandemic. What was it like to change the direction of the show and turn it into a digital program?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. We canceled the show on May the 25th, and I guess that had been the worst day that I can remember in ages. Not really knowing what the future was. Now, having said that, by this time, of course, we do own Ag in Motion, and that's held in Langham, Saskatchewan each year. And of course, we had been through the let's find a platform. How are we going to make this work? So we learned a whole lot from Ag in Motion, and I guess the biggest thing we learned was the whole timing thing, and as things unfolded, it was the right thing to do. We immediately knew then, again, because of our experience with Ag in Motion, that we'd be sharing this swap card platform that the Glacier FarmMedia staff from somewhere in Canada, I think Montreal, and the digital crew found this neat platform, and we'd be working on it. So our group was pretty excited that we had an alternative to work on. So, I think May 26th, we went right to work and worked right till I would imagine September the 14th, the day before the show started, to get everything nailed down and tied down and just everything ready to work on the platform, as we were able to present that to our Ontario farm group and farmers, I guess, from all over the world that were watching to see what was going on. Canada's Outdoor Farm Show, I always tell everybody, we have 3 points of difference. A, we're outdoors. B, our field or our demonstrations, livestock equipment, they're huge. And then our crop plots that are on our show site, they set us apart from anything else in the immediate area. So right off the get-go, that gave us a chance to offer those pretty much in the same format that we've offered at an outdoor live show without the people. It's just like watching a hockey game just about now, without the people. So anyways, that worked pretty good. And then there were some of our content that we did that it just made more sense to go to people's farms, because we weren't going to we weren't in a position to set it up at our show. So we went to people's farms that were quite keen on helping us out. And of course, for all of us, that was a whole new experience, going to visit somebody's farm with a video crew and coming up with a 5 to 10 minute video. So that was a pretty neat experience too. All in all, when it was all said and done, I think we had 85 videos and probably in the mid 30s that we actually produced of content.
Generally, how well was it received?
Well, I think pretty well. I think the jury's still out. Of course, we're outdoors, weather. Strangely enough, this year it hasn't rained since Labor Day weekend now, so we're in almost 22 days of absolutely gorgeous, low winds, blue sky, sunshine, and of course hot summer like it was everywhere. So corn silage is coming off, soybeans are coming off, colored beans are coming off. So it was pretty busy harvest week. So I'm really hoping that, and I do understand that the platform is going to be open until March-ish, and hopefully with with some of the Farmtario in Ontario here, that we can maybe encourage farmers and exhibitors to go back on the platform in the fall and take another whack at it. So I think generally speaking, the whole platform, the idea, everybody was pretty encouraged that, we took this on and the whole group took this on behalf of the industry. But I'm just thinking that maybe not as many people had a chance to participate as they had planned, but we got more time, and I hope from my point that everybody gives us another couple of months to just to get the full impact of this, because we've never had the experience to watch a farm show in November before, so that's going to be a new experience for everybody too, and I think they'll be impressed at what they're going to see.
That's one of the beauties of having a digital show, is that you can actually go back and review and see the content that you've missed, or maybe, and I'm just wondering, do you see this being a component of future shows, assuming that eventually Canada's Outdoor Farm Show will go live?
I would presume in this industry, they would still, come to an outdoor event just for all the stuff it has to offer, not to mention the big part, the meeting all their friends and, associates they met in the industry. And of course, you come to a farm show, you never know who you're going to meet, but you're going to meet some people you haven't seen for a couple of years. And that always makes you feel good when you go home. But I think maybe going forward, there is some opportunities to, to pull some of the highlights out of the show and do some sort of a digital presentation that can be shared into the fall.
Well, congratulations, Doug, on two fronts, both with the announcement and with pulling off the first digital farm show for Eastern Canada. And we'll talk again soon.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me.
That was Doug Wagner, president of Canada's Outdoor Farm Show. Putting on a virtual farm show is a very different process than hosting a live show. All of the content visitors could view online had to be generated ahead of time. John Gregg, editor of Farmtario, was on the front lines of generating those stories. So we had a conversation about some of the highlights for him from this event. John, one of the most popular features of an outdoor farm show was obviously getting up close and personal with new technology and new innovations. And of course, that wasn't possible this year, but there were still new innovations featured at this year's farm show. And I'm just wondering, what were your favorites?
Well, it was very interesting to see the way that we could talk to people and have a look at the technology through a digital means. It actually allowed me more time to talk directly to some of the innovators than I'd necessarily get at a busy farm show. But I just wanted to focus on a few Ontario and Canadian-based technologies or people using them. The first would be Chuck Barasek, who's a farmer and a farm retail outlet owner who is the first one in Ontario with a DOT power unit. He's also using a much smaller unit called the Romeo by a company called Kochemi from Ontario. And so he's using the small unit to plant things like cover crops and also to do soil sensing. And then he's using the DOT power unit to do some fertilizer spreading. He's looking forward to eventually getting into planting. And he has some very interesting things to say when I talk to him about how he sees it integrating. And that's what he sees it as. It's not going to completely replace everything we do now, but it's going to make farmers in certain places where it works for them more efficient. So that was one very interesting conversation I had. And anyone who is interested in thinking about how those autonomous units are working, he's a good guy to talk to. Another one is HFL Fabricating, which is a small farm fabricating shop. They also do some other non-farm things, but they're also farmers, people that run the company. And they made their own row unit for interseeding cover crops into corn, which is often a challenge for people to get the cover crop properly seeded into corn. And really the research is showing that it's best to get it seeded into the soil versus just dropped over the top into the soil. So they came up with their own solution. And one of the most important things is it's a less expensive solution than trying to go out and buy a whole row unit to do that. And then they also have put that on their seed drill too. So kind of came up with their own solution for a need that they had.
So are these products, obviously the DOT technology is available commercially. Is the seed row attachment also something that farmers can go out and buy?
Yeah, sure. HFL Fabricating is selling it now. So yeah, yes, it is. And although it is relatively new yet, and then another one that's still they're not producing it yet. What also is quite interesting is another fabricating shop in Ontario is making called All Equipped Repair and Service. They are making what they call their reel spreader. So a challenge for farmers is to get manure on in enough volume in the spring on fit soils so that they're not they're not putting the manure on, running big tractors and spreaders across a field that's wet, because when the soil is fit, they want to be planting. So this gives them an option. It's just a interesting way of combining a drag hose system. So you have the advantage of drag hose that you do not have the compaction of running the big tankers across. And then it can actually be dragged into and injected into corn up to 42 inches. So so it really gives farmers a greater window for applying their manure. And that's been the limitation of a drag hose. You can't drag it. Usually, you haven't been able to drag it across growing crops.
So, John, you take a look at new innovations every year when show season comes around, and just wondering, are you seeing any trends in the new developments that are coming to market?
So I think it's interesting what some of these smaller fabricating shops are coming up with. There's just the technology and the ability for smaller shops to experiment. Just there are more materials and inexpensive ways to create materials, and I think those and that really feeds into the other trend I'm seeing in planters, which is farmers can't do a whole lot with their tractor anymore. They're like kind of digital lockdown, but I'm seeing a lot of that innovation and interesting innovation happening with planters, where people just kind of buy components that they want and put them together into their own planter, often with the help of a local fabricating shop or their own ingenuity. And then there's also some planter specialists who will help you do that kind of thing. So it's, it's kind of that that on-farm innovation or that local innovation certainly still is there, even though there's centralization and scale in other agriculture technologies.
You were on the front lines of generating the content that we put together for this show, and I just wondered, give me a sense of just the kind of the depth and the breadth that we were able to pull together over the 3 days in presentations. And of course, people can still go and take those presentations in.
Right. Yeah. For quite a few months, well into next year, you'll be able to still go to Canada's Digital Farm Show and see any of the ones I've mentioned here, and quite a bit else. There were a large number of different innovations in what we called our innovation showcase, and there's videos of each of those innovations. There's a whole lot of interviews with people doing other innovative things, such as I did the interview with Chuck Barasich about his use of autonomy. And there's also several livestock interviews I did. So there's a whole breadth of information there that we put together. But it was enough work over a period of time. But it was a very interesting experience and a good learning experience for us, I think.
Well, thanks very much for coming on the show today, John. We'll talk to you again very soon.
No problem. Take care.
As we mentioned, the show may be over, but the content lives on. If you're interested in taking in any of the sessions that John mentioned or other features from the show, just Google Canada's Digital Farm Show and register for the event, which is free, by the way. And once on the platform, you can cruise through the program and take in any of the sessions you like. Our last item this week is our usual look at the markets. I spoke with Phil Franz Workington, who writes for Markets Farm.
All
Hi,
right.
Phil, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, it's been kind of interesting to watch what's going on in the markets. Usually harvest and pressure seem to go together this time of year. And we are seeing some great harvest weather happening in most parts of the prairies. But prices have actually seemed to have been holding up pretty well. What do you think is going on?
Yeah, the prices have been holding up very well. much of it is spillover from U.S. markets and outside markets. Looking at canola specifically, prices hit their best levels in 2 years last week. They've seen some profit taking the past few days, so they're well off those highs. But even with that profit taking, they're still the best prices at harvest time in at least 3 years, I'd say, and the highest levels period in 2 years. And yeah, that has to do with soybeans. They've been climbing in the U.S. and that's been spilling over into canola, and that's also seen a lot of speculative money flow into the canola market. So they are the data on that isn't. They've only been collecting that data for 2 years on the official fund position numbers, but they're holding the largest long position in the since there's data available, and so that basically means the funds, the big speculative money, is betting prices will go higher. What the profit-taking correction, how that will adjust things, but they'll still be holding on a large long position, which is kind of a sign of the bullish technical signals. In addition, yeah.
So when we see that fund money coming into ag commodities, that usually means they're uncomfortable with either the level of volatility or the direction that mainstream commodities are going. Is that correct?
Yeah, that could be part of it. So at the same time, sometimes it's just a rising tide type thing, and they want to put their money somewhere, so that comes to play as well. But yeah, the commodities are a different market than other ones. So they'll sell in one place and buy in commodities maybe, and that could be part of it as well. Yeah.
So what's happening on the cereal side then?
Yeah, cereals are also firm, not to the same extent as the oil seeds, but they have also been seeing some, a bit more strength than usual for this time of year. As in canola, watching the U.S. markets is a major driver there, and so the focus is on planting their winter wheat, and their spring wheat harvest is pretty much done according to the latest numbers. I think it was 96% done, their spring wheat harvest. Canada's moving along in that as well. I haven't seen that updated number, but it's getting close to the closer to the end than the beginning for the wheat harvest as well. So that harvest pressure would, seasonally be something to put some pressure on, but the wheat and the grains in general have benefited from that as well. I was talking to someone about oats earlier today, and so that's a little bit more off to the side, but yeah, he's saying prices were steady at harvest, and he'll take steady because they're not going down. So you don't generally expect prices to go up at harvest, but if they're not going down, that's a good thing. So,
that's a good thing. So any projections, or what are the pundits saying about the longer term outlook going further into the fall, or are things going to hold? Is the demand going to support the kind of crop that we have coming in?
There seems to be there's this year we have the whole pandemic background, and that sort of adds an air of uncertainty to any kind of outlook on things, because we've seen some wide price swings in the general financial markets that also come to play in the ag commodities. But generally speaking, there seems to be pandemic or not, people need to eat, and there's prices are solid and demand seems solid at this early stage for most things that are being grown. Yeah.
Well, that's great news to end on. Thanks very much, Phil. We'll talk to you again in the future.
All right, thanks for having me.
That was Phil Franz Workington, who writes for Markets Farm. That's all we have for you on this week's Between the Rows, but we'll be back again next week. I hope you'll join us. I'm Laura Rance.
Between the Rows is brought to you by Smart Nutrition MAP plus MST. Experience the latest, most efficient fertilizer system for delivering sulfur and phosphate to your crops when they need it. Learn how to boost your soil's performance and maximize ROI with Smart Nutrition MAP plus MST at smartnutritionmst.com.